Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. Today, guys, we're going to be taking a look at Solana and specifically the price action of SOL. As we get into this, if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you are new, subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here. Right, with all that out of the way, let's dive into this technical analysis on Solana. So we're going to start with this weekly chart, guys. We are paired up with USDT. Binance is the data source, and man, this thing has been performing well. We can see that there isn't a huge amount of data. Data only really goes back to August of 2020. And had we actually got previous data, this over here would have been our wave one, right? And basically this peak you see over here in August, this actually indicated a wave two, and then we see wave three coming in here, going into a bit of a wave four down to this side, and then we see this massive swing back to the upside for wave five. Okay, so there are, again, in my opinion, 5 waves. This is very much consistent with many of these other projects in the space. So that being said, though, we obviously do have an interesting high point and an interesting low point during this fourth wave correction here, and a good push to the upside, but Solana is not slowing down anytime soon. And we actually did a price prediction for Solana, I think, back in June, and basically $185. And despite lots of comments on the video saying it's not possible and things, what did we see yesterday? Well, we saw $185 get hit, and that is fantastic to see. But again, guys, things now are pushing much further ahead with Solana. We are not slowing down. We are not stopping. We are going much, much higher than $185. And despite the pullback yesterday, we'll get into that in a moment, Solana is still structurally intact and looking very, very good. We can see that during our kind of third wave to the upside here, we can see that we went into the overbought area in January of 2021, and we didn't leave this area until May. Okay, so we were up there for several months. We can see that we're back up in this overbought after being oversold during this kind of correction wave in the middle here. And this is actually then a good indication of what is to come, right? We can be up here for several months as we finish this bull run, and the price discovery on the back of that is going to be absolutely massive. And again, this really comes down to the fact that the ecosystem is a little bit more evolved. It's getting some transactional volume on it. People are now speculating and FOMOing into it. And again, these are the kind of things that we're expecting to see also with a few other projects in the space. Once they kind of get past their kind of speculative initial stages and start to actually have some applications built upon them, and some transaction volume comes in, we're going to see some absolute mammoth moves with some of these projects. So this is really good to see. So let's jump this down into our daily, and we'll talk about what's going on with the Fibonacci, right? So what we are taking is the high point of wave 3 and the low point of wave 4, and this indicates where we are kind of expecting things to go, right? And this actually had that full extension that was hit yesterday of the 4.236. This comes in at $185. We've been talking about this since June. This was the expectation. This is what we were looking for. And obviously, during June, we were all the way down at these really low points, thinking about where the price would be, around $27 or so. And we were called crazy, thinking that we were going to go all the way up there. But here we are. And now we think about where we're going to go next, right? What is the expectation? And well, there's a few interesting areas that I have marked out, right? We've obviously got some interesting kind of price associated targets, which I think could be interesting ones to see. Now, I think for the most part, 2 scenarios are more likely. We have $332, which is this target just here. And we also have our target of $542, okay? So looking at these, $542 seems like a pretty interesting target to be going after, specifically if we are able to achieve 332 reasonably quickly. Now, the pullback that we obviously saw yesterday and recovery that we have also seen are also pretty good indicators of what is to come as well. So we'll get into it more on the smaller time frames, but I really do want to acknowledge that during our push to the upside from our lower areas in this fourth wave correction, we actually saw a bit of a pullback, a bit of a sideways trade right on top of our 1.618 Fibonacci area. So the first target that came in at $82.79, there was a bit of a pullback. That pullback was absolutely key because we actually went down to the oversold area on our stochastic. Lots of momentum was lost here, but actually no damage to the price. And that was just testament to the fact that actually people aren't willing to sell because it's so valuable, right? So although we hit an area where some traders were taking some profits, not a lot of people were selling. That protected the price, loss of momentum as people were waiting to see what would happen next. And then we start to see this good push back to the upside. We find the resistance right here at the top at the 4.236. We also see Bitcoin pulling everything down with it, including Solana. So we actually wicked all the way down to $128 very briefly before we pushed right the way back up again. Okay, so today's high, if I actually just get this on here so far at the point of recording this video, is $180. So meaning that you could have gained some pretty interesting and significant position from $128 to $180 in just a few hours. Those are kind of percentage gains that you don't see all that often, and you have to take advantage of these opportunities when you see them. So that being said, up here is an interesting point. We're starting to see a bit of a pullback on this daily stochastic, and that could now allow us to continue a bit of a correction like this just up here that then takes us to those next levels that we've been talking about. So again, loads of kind of price expectations now in the world of price discovery for Solana. So our initial kind of price expectations and price targets have been set and have been hit, and now we are looking at speculating our way to the next level or so. So looking forward to seeing how those kind of play out. Now let's jump down into our hourly. Here we can obviously talk about what actually happened yesterday in a bit more detail. We can see that Bitcoin really did pull the entire kind of crypto market down. There were a couple of exceptions in a few places, but overall we wicked all the way down here and we pushed all the way back up again on the bit of a bounce. Now this is an interesting tell, guys, because if we actually take a Fibonacci retracement tool from our red candle here down to here, this actual tool lets us kind of predict where things should have bounced and where we actually saw things going. So the bounce that we saw after this coming down actually saw a wick go above our 786 and then find support on our 702 and push above it. So this was indicating that, basically we are not going to new lower lows. In fact, this is an anomaly. This is unexpected, and definitely it's not something that we would normally be looking to see in new lower lows, not in the same way that we saw with the fourth wave correction. This is artificial in approach, and I don't think it's actually institutional based either. I think this is just a few bad actors, specifically lining their pockets with Bitcoin. So for example, like we saw with XRP on the 1st of February, there was an event where everyone was encouraged to purchase $30 worth of Bitcoin. Obviously, in the same way that we saw with XRP, instead, those bad actors dumped on the market, bringing Bitcoin to new lower lows. Or not new lower lows, but lower areas on the charts, and basically accumulated more Bitcoin at a much discounted rate. So some whales, some bad actors in the space, and as a result of Bitcoin's manipulation to that effect, we saw the rest of the market also get manipulated and get pulled down. Now, ultimately, I think very little retail investors were involved. I think it was basically more bot-based in terms of many of these altcoins reacting the way that they did, because many people couldn't even get onto exchanges retail investor wise. So I guess there would be a few institutions, professional traders that would have been able to participate, but for the most part I think it was probably bot based on many of these altcoins and why they performed the way that they did. That being said, Solana has performed very, very well. The bounce to the upside was key. We have seen a good stable areas now being hit, although right now on this hourly chart things are looking very, very good. We are of course down in the oversold area as we find support down here on the 50% area, and pushing up into the 618. This is now obviously an interesting higher low area, and again we'll look to push up higher. So again we'll be looking to target pushing past some of these resistance areas up $185, for example, the area that we were concentrating around previously, and again we can also see that up here around $180 is also another key area for us to be monitoring. But I do think that Solana is going to be on an absolute tear again, and we'll be heading out to some interesting price discovery. Again, we have this up here now with this particular area. So if I actually take our Fibonacci retracement tool here, run it from our high down to our recent low. This is now indicating that we could potentially go up to that kind of $414 area. Okay, so right now on this Fibonacci, we're looking at some interesting areas as we battle through some of these zones, and really concentrating on that 50%, looking to try to get a closed candle above that 786, which would come in at $181, and then that should be the indication to continue to move to the upside. So again, I'm just going to quickly mark up with a horizontal ray here, our new full extension here. I'm not going to give this a different color. I'm just going to give it green so we know that that's the one that we're really looking for there. So overall, Solana has been lining up quite nicely. We've obviously already taken out all of the key areas that we were expecting to happen this bull run, which is really positive. That means that we're going to be continuing the growth to the upside as we finish this bull run by the end of the year, beginning of 2022. So everything to look forward to. If we're ever in doubt though, do zoom out, pay attention to that bigger structure and how things are looking. Solana is doing incredibly well. I think it's going to continue to do really well. And guys, hopefully you have been able to see some significant profits in your portfolios. Guys, if you found this useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, then do subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here. With this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.